GJ. Okay, so let's put this in replay mode. Let's put it right about here. A couple more candlesticks there. Okay, so looking at GJ on a higher time frame, right? What did I see? Well, if we go to the hourly, from when I start my streams around 7 a.m., I pretty much saw that GJ was consolidating, you know? So if I get my major zones here, I can say, okay, we're at support, we got resistance, right? Price is clearly ranging, right? We're playing like ping pong, like tennis, pounce, 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 pounce. So what that means is for me personally, I like to stay out of these ranges. I don't like to trade in them. They get a little tricky. So I'm waiting for price to either break below or break above out of here. You know what I mean? That way I have a clear direction of where price wants to go. Because right now price is just moving sideways. That doesn't help me at all. Okay, so looking at that in that aspect, I seen that if we break below, right, if we come to the downside, that if I look here, I got a nice clean range coming down to at least this area. Okay, so I'm just going to tag that out. All right. Now, if we break above, well, just looking above, right, if we break above here, the next spot is here, right, because this is the next resistance. Just like when I'm looking here, this is the next support. Okay, and also you're going to see, if I clear this out, right, if we break below here, if we say this is our next support, if we look left, if we look at the history of price, you see that this resistance zone comes up, right? And it actually tests this area, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my square here just to show you like, okay, you know, we are testing this area. So whenever you have a previous support or resistance match up with a new support or resistance, typically it's a major zone, right? So one more time, just for those in the back, we had a touch here, we had a touch here. So this should be a really good zone for price to come down to. All right, so my bias overall was that sells would look good. Okay, I'm looking at this like, okay, I'm looking for sells. So what I did was I took this hourly support, just put a line here, and I'll just make this my hourly support. Come down to the 30-minute. I can see that this 30-minute candle did indeed close below. So now I'm looking like, okay, I already graphed out my clean range here. It's about 33 pips. Looks like a nice range to come down. I want it to wait for that next candle to start breaking down here. So if we go to the 15-minute, we're going to go to the next candle. I actually, for 15 minutes, now 15 minutes is a long time when you're staring at the charts. So this candle waked up, then it turned bearish, right? It turned black. My bearish candles are black. It started coming down here. And right around here, I took an impulse entry. Okay, somewhere around here, I took an impulse entry, had my stop loss above. I said, yep, here we go, time to come down. And then what do you know? What do you know? So about 10 minutes go by, right? In 10 minutes, you know, if we're looking at a 15-minute candle, what's half of that? 7 minutes. So we're more than halfway done with the candle, okay? More than halfway done with the candle, and it's still behaving like this. It's still like this. And I'm like, I thought price was going to shoot down, you know? So I didn't really like that behavior. So I closed half of my trade. Okay, so I closed partial. So I took like 50% off. And then what else did I do? Well, in looking at that, I said, okay, let me look at the time here. The time is 8 o'clock, right? So my time, 8 o'clock, is New York open. So if it's time for New York to open, typically we get a lot of volume. If it's New York open, that volume should make this shoot right down. That didn't happen. So that made me go, uh-oh, okay, maybe I should just close my trade. So I ended up closing my trade for full at 5 pips because price was playing around here. Ended up closing it at 5 pips. Took a 5 pip loss, was okay with it. I said, you know what? I'm staying out. And then look what happens after that. Good thing I closed it at 5 pips, you know? So I'm just showing you how you manage risk. You know, sometimes you have a good analysis and it just so happens with your entry, like, not a good spot. So, you know, it happens to me too. I don't want y'all to think that y'all take losses and things don't go in your favor. You know, it happens to me too. Okay, but next I'm going to show you the next trade I had on GJ. So that was a minus 5 pips. All right. Then right about, I think it was this candle right here. Yeah, it's this candle right here. So I'm going to keep that zone there. I'm going to go to the 4 hour. So at 9 o'clock, right, 9 a.m. So this is about an hour after that move, 1 hour later, this 4 hour candle closed. Now, what do you notice about this 4 hour candle? Right, let me see what you notice about this. Well, first of all, it's bearish, right? Second of all, we closed below that 1 hour line we had here, right? We had a 1 hour line here. We closed below that. So if a 4 hour candle closed below support, right? I'm thinking, okay, now it's time for us to go bearish. Why? Because we tried 1, 2, 3 times right here, right? Price tried 3 times to break below this zone. It just couldn't do it. We finally broke below the zone. So I said, okay, now that it's time for that next candle to start, what I did was I switched my line to being at the low of this previous 4 hour candle so that I know if the next one decides to come down, it'll look like this, you know? So if I have my line here, if I go to, a lower time frame, look at this candlestick. If I go to a lower time frame, I'll be able to see my 4 hour mark. You see that? So that's why I really love these templates. I can see it doing that. Okay. So you're going to notice that I plan out my trades before I take them. It's very, very important for you to come to the market with a plan, because if you don't have a plan, then you may get a little lost. All right. So yeah, so what I marked here was my 4 hour low, came down to the 1 hour chart. Then I took a look at the 1 hour. I said, okay, what do we got in the 1 hour? Well, those of you who like trend lines, even if you put a trend line here, you can see that price came up here, right? We broke below the trend line and we tapped it 2 times. Tested it, rejected it, still coming down. Like, okay, the 1 hour's bearish, the 4 hour's bearish. Everything's looking good. Only thing I need for confirmation is I'd like to see another wick up to reject and then start pushing down this 4 hour line, and then I'd be good to go with my impulse. Okay, and then looking at the 30 minute looks bearish as well, right? You can see in the 30 minute how we tapped this zone and rejected it. So, all my confluences lined up here. Okay, everything lined up. And I'm going to show you what happened. So as price came down, boom, took an entry right here. All right, took an entry, put my stop loss above, was targeting these 28 pips here. We come to the 4 hour, you're going to see that this was actually above the 4 hour wick, which is good, right? Imagine that entry. That's a nice entry on the 4 hour. However, guess what? I got stopped out at break even. So I didn't lose anything, but I did get stopped out at break even. So, price came down here. It was playing around. We came down to almost 10 pips. It came down to, I think, like 7 or 8 pips. And around that time, I had moved my stops to break even. Now, you got to keep in mind that TradingView, I'm going to delete this so you can see that. TradingView's numbers is going to be different from your brokers. So if you're using TradingView and then you go over to your phone, I usually trade on my phone on stream, then you're going to see that, oh, the numbers are a little bit off. So on stream, it doesn't look like I got stopped out at break even, but if you go to my broker, I did get stopped out at break even. So with that said, take a look at what the next candle did. Bang, the theory was right that we were going to be coming down, but it's too bad. But what happens? What happens? You do get stopped out at break even, but this did end up coming down. What, about 18 pips here? Came back up and retested. And let's just put this live now where it's at now. Yeah, lots of retests, right? Lots of retests. So looks like no matter what, I would have got stopped at break even. But look at that. And this is just pure market manipulation. That's all I see here. I see the market makers are like, you know what? There's too many people in cells right now. Let's get them out of here, right? Let's take them out. That's basically what all this was. It was literally for no reason. There's no news right now. It's literally just to take people out. So don't feel bad if you got stopped out of this trade, because I did as well. Looks like as we speak, it is heading straight down to what I had planned for, 28 pips, but it's all good. All right, so those were 2 out of 3 trades we had today. Okay, and then also one last thing before we move on to gold is if you want to look at this as a pendant, this is a pendant breakout. And check this out. All right, it's not perfect, but you can see that price came down, retested, then broke down, which is another reason why I took my sell here, because you see price came up here. See that? We tag out these zones, you're going to see highs. The highs get lower. Okay. When you're in a downtrend, that's hints of a downtrend. Okay. The highs get lower. See these highs get lower. The lows get lower. Okay. So that's what we see going on here.